Archie, I suppose the big question is he any good?
Good that his nickname amongst the Stuttgart fans last season was Woltemade.
Oh.
He is an incredible dribbler, and yet he is close to being 2 meters tall, which are very unique traits. And I think that's the gamble that Newcastle are taking here is, are we going to be able to do similar things with Nick Woltemade as we were able to do with Alexander Isak in terms of polishing up the game? But there is still a risk because Nick Woltemade arrived at Stuttgart at the start of last season on a free from Werder Bremen, having never really proven himself. And he wasn't even picked and registered as part of Stuttgart's Champions League squad. He bloomed mainly in the second half of the season. And I think that the faith that they're going to have to show is, look, there will be some rough games that Nick Woltemade will have, but he'll keep you coming back for more. Such will be the quality that he shows in his very good games.
Were there other clubs interested in him as well, Archie?
Oh, were there? The whole summer in Germany has been dominated by, will Nick Woltemade go to Bayern Munich? And the big story before the German Super Cup was Stuttgart putting their foot down, finally saying, no, Nick Woltemade is not going anywhere. He will be staying with us this season. That was at least the message towards Bayern Munich, because there is a rivalry historically between them. And so for them, it would have been very painful to sell Nick Woltemade to Bayern. But I think when Newcastle came in offering this amount of money, which they've been demanding from the start, and Bayern has said, he's not worth that, he's not worth that. And Stuttgart have proved their point and gone, well, in this market, he is. I know that there was some Premier League interest as well in Nick Woltemade, but on a similar line to Bayern Munich, they were thinking, is he really worth this money? And I think that the Alexander Isak situation for Newcastle has ultimately forced their hand.
Yeah, I suppose that is why this is such a big story, because it then suggests that Isak will get his move to Liverpool, because otherwise Newcastle wouldn't be able to get this sort of deal across the line at 80 million.
Some of the suggestions from journalists in the North East that this isn't going to, which I can't see, that isn't going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and Isak just goes to Liverpool, because they don't forget they lost Callum Wilson as well. So with Isak on the sidelines or potentially going, they're 2 strikers down. Now, that is a lot of money to replace Callum Wilson, who was effectively a backup for quite some time. So it would suggest that this is potentially going to release Isak, but this story has just rumbled for so long, and if he is a little bit raw at times, then are they trusting this new signing to be able to lead the line on a weekly basis? So it maybe isn't as crystal clear for the Isak situation as it seems because of this big money signing coming in. But again, this transfer window's been such a mess for Newcastle. Who knows? But
obviously, if he comes in to replace Isak, that's massive boots to fill, Shaq.
Yes. Yeah, without question. And as far as replacement goes, I think this kind of green lights the Alexander Isak's move to, we suppose, Liverpool. If you remember last year, early in the transfer window, Newcastle had to get very creative just to avoid PSR, breaching PSR regulations. This summer, they've spent a lot of money, as we just saw on that graphic already. Now, adding Woltemade to that suggests that there has to be a major exit. And the only real asset they have in that regard is Alexander Isak. So, but to your point that it's huge boots to fill, Newcastle and Eddie Howe have looked for young talent that they can develop. I hold my hand up. When they bought Alexander Isak from Sociedad for 70 million or whatever it is, I didn't see it. And I said I thought they overpaid massively for him. So I was certainly happily proven wrong in that regard. You've got to give Eddie Howe that leeway, at least in terms of what he can get out of Woltemade. Big outlay, absolutely. But he's only 23 years old. He is a little bit raw. I called Ali Moreno to find out a little bit more about Woltemade. He's seen a whole lot more of him than me. And he feels that he's a better acquisition than Sesko.
Right.
That a very similar skill set in terms of height, physicality, both good with the ball at their feet. But Woltemade is more of a scrapper and will turn in a performance even when things aren't going well. And now I know it's still very early days for Sesko, but the signs are that he's good when things are going well, I'm not sure he's got the scrapper mentality that Woltemade
It's a bit of a
seems to.
brow wiper for Eddie Howe, isn't it? In terms of, if you watched them against Liverpool, they were very good at times, but Anthony Gordon, before he's sending off, is through the middle and it's lightweight.
Yes.
So at least if he is losing Isak or whatever happens, at least he's got a body in, a bit of quality, a youngster, a big signing. He's got somebody fresh through the door, and he's not going to be left as hanging as maybe he thought he might be before the transfer window shuts, because he's probably been out of the big clubs the manager that is hanging the most, waiting, wondering to see what he's got. At least now they have their man.
If we take a look at, as Shaka mentioned, Ekitike, Sesko, now Woltemade, Archie, how would you rank those three?
Oh. So they've all got potential to be excellent strikers. I would go Ekitike at the top. Then I agree with Ale. I'd go for Woltemade and then Sheshko. Sheshko has the wow factor in him. The problem is he will do things which make you go, oh my God, how did he manage to do that? And then equally, he will make you say the same words when he's in front of goal and he misses a sitter. And just in terms of expectations, you saw it when Timo Werner came over from RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig is a strange club to go and play at because you're not under the same pressure that you will face in the Premier League. Whereas what Nick Woltemade has done at Stuttgart, you are playing for a very expectant fan base who, until the summer and until the end of last season when they won the DFB Cup with Nick Woltemade scoring in the final, they had been very hungry for a title for a long time. And I think that being able to get used to that environment is very important. And Hugo Ekitike was playing in similar surroundings, I would say, at Frankfurt. Not that they've had to wait as long for a title, but there is expectation and pressure to perform. And with Benjamin Šeško, I would add that I don't know if he was always linking up with teammates and whether, because RB Leipzig, you've just got, it's such a platform to just go on to other clubs. I wonder sometimes if players are too much in it for themselves. And in that sense, Manchester United has been a place for lots of that attitude in recent months and years.
So, Ian, let's say Isak moves to Liverpool. How do you fit Isak into this system, given the brilliant start that Ekitike has made?
Well, that's a big problem for Arne Slot. It's probably quite a nice problem for him to have. If it happens, of course, that's a big assumption, because as Craig said, all the word so far has been that Newcastle want two strikers through the door. I think this moves out of desperation. They wanted Ekitike. They didn't get him. He preferred Liverpool. They wanted Johan Wisser of Brentford. Doesn't look like that's happening, though there's still time. They wanted Strand Larsen of Wolverhampton Wanderers, made two bids for him, both rejected by Wolves. So now, from nowhere, they've made this signing from this lad from Stuttgart. Interesting to hear Archie's rundown on what he might be like. But now we wait to see whether there's still a standoff with Isak or whether now this facilitates his move to Anfield. And I don't know, maybe they'll play Ekitike towards the left with Isak through the middle. But what would that mean for somebody like Gakpo, who's been producing goals and performances? But, they say you can't have too many good players, but maybe sometimes you can, because it's a little bit unsettling of a successful unit.
I mean, also, but while we're talking about a second striker in terms of a replacement for Callum Wilson, you saw young Osula come off the bench for Newcastle and score against Liverpool. So now, while we're talking about a replacement for Callum Wilson, who, by and large, for the last couple of seasons, came off the bench later on, contributed with some goals, some important goals, but was by no means a starter. And even more to the point, very rarely played 90 minutes. Now, Osula is only 22 years old, so there's a lot of time for him in terms of his own development. But certainly in the short term, and coming off the bench, given that other option, to play two up front when you need a goal, as they did against Liverpool, maybe Eddie Howe is thinking since Monday, maybe we really don't need that second striker. Maybe we already have that alternate in-house already. So just to stick with Woltemade, I think makes total sense.
What do we do with Ekitike and Isak in the same starting 11?
Goes to the left.
It's simple as that. He makes way.
Well, he's not dropping Salah on the other side. And as Ian said, Gakpo's been very useful for them. Diaz on that side, obviously, he's gone. Maybe he'll play two up front? I don't think so, because Florian Wirtz is there, and they're already a little weaker in midfield. It's not his biggest problem.
Right.
His biggest problem at the moment is the middle of the park, the balance in the team. They've lost 6 goals in 3 games, Community Shield, Bournemouth, and then Newcastle. They couldn't dominate a team with 10 men. They got outplayed against a team with 10 men. They've got 2 new fullbacks on the side. Frimpong didn't play the other night, but they've got 2 new fullbacks with Frimpong and Kerkez. And the relationship between Kerkez and Van Dijk at the moment on that left-hand side is a struggle. It's a struggle, and for all Van Dijk's experience, he's finding Kerkez kind of out of position a little bit. So there are other facets of the team, I would say, that are more of an issue to Arne Slot, and it is patently obvious that they are not anywhere near where they were at the start of last season because of the new signings, because of the new faces, and how difficult it is to make those subtle changes. Going from Gravenberg, Szoboszlai and McAllister, who are 3 out-and-out midfielders who can do a little bit of everything, to then having 2 and a number 10. It's just it's a subtle change, but it's a change, and it just sort of upsets the balance a little bit. And I think we're seeing that in Liverpool, but we're also seeing it in the changes at the full-back position, which means if they sign Alexander Isak, at this moment in time, if that happens, it is not the biggest concern of Arne Slot is how to get him in the team. The other facets of the team are more worrisome for that manager at this moment in time.